From the moment the rain started pouring that night in Chicago, everything about William Carter's life was about to change. William wasn't just any man. He was a billionaire business magnate, the kind whose name lit up stock tickers and whose face appeared on the covers of financial magazines. But on this particular night, his chauffeur drove him through the less glamorous side of the city, a part he hadn't seen since he was a boy. There, at the corner of 8th and Main, he saw her, a young woman, soaked to the bone, clutching a baby wrapped in nothing more than a tattered blanket. Her eyes darted nervously, as if she were hiding from the world, or from someone in it. Something in William froze. He asked his driver to stop. When he stepped out into the rain, she looked at him like he was a ghost, unsure whether he was real or just another hallucination brought on by exhaustion. "Please," she whispered, barely audible over the rain. "Take him. I can't do this anymore." Before William could ask her name, the woman thrust the baby into his arms. The child was tiny, fragile, his breath barely warming the cold air. And then, just as suddenly, she was gone, disappeared into the maze of dark alleys. William stood there, rain dripping from his coat, staring at the little boy in his arms. He didn't know her name. He didn't know why she had chosen him. But in that moment, one thing became clear. This child wasn't going to be just another charity case. No, William Carter was going to raise him as his own. And that decision would ignite a chain of events that no one, least of all William, could have predicted. By morning, the storm had passed, but the questions had only begun. The baby, now bathed, fed, and wrapped in silk, slept peacefully in a nursery that once belonged to William's late son. The mansion staff whispered among themselves. None of them dared to question William directly, but their curiosity simmered like a pot about to boil over. Where did the child come from? Why now, after all these years? William ignored them. He had already called his lawyer, arranging the adoption papers. Money could erase most bureaucratic obstacles, but there was something this time money couldn't erase, an ache. For years, William had lived with an emptiness that his wealth couldn't touch. He had buried his wife and his only child in the same year. Since then, the house had been quiet, too quiet. This baby's cries, soft and erratic, somehow brought life back into the hollow halls. But there was something about the boy that William couldn't explain. Something in his face, the curve of his lips. It was as if he recognized him, though that was impossible. The next night, while sitting in his study, William called his private investigator, a man who had handled many of his more discreet business matters. "I need you to find her," William said, his voice low. "The mother. She's young, maybe early 20s. She looked desperate, but not hopeless, like she was running from something, or someone." "Any idea who she is?" the investigator asked. William paused. He didn't have a name. All he had was the memory of those piercing eyes under the flicker of a street lamp. "No," he said finally, "but I have a feeling she's not done with me yet." And he was right, because that very night, a figure stood at the edge of his gated driveway, hidden in the shadows, watching. It was her. The mansion was silent, save for the faint ticking of the grandfather clock in the foyer. William sat in the nursery, watching the boy's tiny chest rise and fall. He should have felt at peace, but the silence didn't feel safe anymore. It felt watched. 3 days after the adoption papers were set in motion, the first strange thing happened. Maria, the head housekeeper, came into William's study holding a folded piece of paper. "Sir, this was found on the kitchen counter this morning. None of us put it there." William took the paper and unfolded it. Inside, in neat handwriting, were 5 words. "Take care of my son." There was no name, no signature, just those 5 words and the faint scent of jasmine perfume. William's jaw tightened. "Who came into the house last night?" "No one, sir," Maria insisted. "The gates were locked. Security saw nothing." But William knew better. He'd been in business long enough to know. Money could buy silence just as easily as it could buy answers. That night, he ordered extra security. Cameras, guards, motion sensors. If she came back, he would know. The very next morning, Maria returned with something else, a small, delicate silver bracelet. It had been left on the baby's crib. William picked it up and examined the tiny engraving. "To Liam, love, Mommy." The boy's name had been chosen by William only yesterday. The birth mother couldn't have known it unless she'd been in the house after he named him. A cold realization settled in. She wasn't just watching. She was already inside. And if that was true, the real question wasn't if she would come back, but what she wanted when she did. Outside, under the cover of night, a figure slipped away into the darkness, unseen by the guards. She smiled to herself. The game had only just begun. It happened on a Tuesday. William was stepping out of his black Bentley in front of the office when a voice, soft but firm, called his name. Mr. Harrington. He turned, expecting to see a reporter or maybe a business rival. Instead, there she was, thin, pale, with eyes so sharp they seemed to slice through the morning air. Her hair was damp from the drizzle, her clothes simple but clean, and in her trembling hand was a small photograph. "I think you have my son," she said. William froze. The security guards tensed, ready to step in, but he lifted a hand to stop them. "Your son?" he asked, his voice carefully measured. She stepped closer, rain sliding down her cheek like tears. "Don't pretend you don't know. You may have signed papers. You may have money and lawyers, but he's mine, and I need to see him." William's grip tightened on his briefcase. "And you are." Her lips curved in a sad smile. "You already know who I am." She held out the photograph. William took it and glanced down, his chest constricted. It was Liam, just days old, wrapped in the same hospital blanket William had first seen him in, but this picture was taken in a dim, cluttered apartment. And the arm cradling him, the arm wasn't William's. "You abandoned him," William said coldly. Her eyes flashed. "No, I saved him." Those words echoed like thunder in his mind. Saved him? From what? Before he could speak again, she stepped back, slipping the photograph into his hand. "I'll come for him when the time is right," she whispered. "And when I do, you'll understand everything." With that, she turned and melted into the crowd, leaving William standing there in the rain, holding the proof that the past wasn't done with him. The photo burned in his pocket the entire day. By nightfall, William wasn't sure anymore if he'd just been threatened or warned. That night, William didn't go home. Instead, he sat in the dim glow of his office, the city lights outside shimmering like restless thoughts. The photograph lay in front of him on the desk, next to a glass of untouched bourbon. He had built billion-dollar deals out of nothing but rumors and hunches. But this was personal. He picked up the phone. "Ethan, I need everything you can find on a woman named Grace Miller. Start with social records, hospital logs, anything from 5 years ago. And be discreet." "Yes, sir," came the quiet reply from his head of security. By morning, a thick brown folder was waiting for him. William flipped it open, and his breath caught. Grace Miller, 26. Former nursing assistant. No criminal record, but a string of missed rent notices. Then the kicker, a police report from exactly 5 years ago, the night Liam was born. The report was vague, almost deliberately so. Domestic disturbance at 1130, Pine Street. Suspect fled. Woman found with infant, unharmed. No suspect was named. No follow-up investigation was recorded. But tucked inside was a photograph, police evidence from that night. Grace's face was bruised, her eyes swollen from crying. She was holding Liam, swaddled in the same blanket William remembered. William leaned back, the leather chair creaking under his weight. She hadn't abandoned the boy. She'd been forced to let him go. And someone dangerous, had been in her life. He called Ethan again. "I need the name of the man in that apartment that night." There was a pause on the line. "Sir, you might want to prepare yourself. He's not just some man." "Who is he?" Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper, as if the name itself could summon trouble. "His name is Marcus Vance, and you don't cross him if you want to live." William closed the folder slowly, his reflection staring back at him in the glass window. For the first time in years, the billionaire felt something he hadn't in a long time: fear. 2 nights later, William's world shifted. He had just tucked Liam into bed when his phone vibrated, an unknown number. Against his better judgment, he answered. A voice came through, low and almost mocking. "You've been asking about me, Mr. Harrington." William froze. Marcus Vance. A short chuckle. I hear you've been playing father. Cute kid. Would be a shame if something happened to him. William's grip tightened around the phone. If you come near him. Relax, Marcus interrupted, his tone almost casual. I don't hurt children. But you've stepped into a game you don't understand. Walk away, and we both forget this happened. Stay, and you'll find out how easily money burns. The line went dead. William stood there for a long moment, the silence pressing in around him. He had dealt with hostile takeovers, corporate espionage, even political smear campaigns, but this was different. This was raw, dangerous, personal. Later that night, he pulled into his private garage only to notice something that made his blood run cold. A playing card tucked under his windshield wiper. The King of Spades. He recognized the message instantly. Marcus had been close. Too close. The next morning, Ethan's voice was urgent over the phone. Sir, surveillance caught something. A black SUV followed you yesterday. 3 different locations. Same plates. Registered to a shell company linked to Vance. William stared at Liam across the breakfast table, the boy giggling over a bowl of cereal, blissfully unaware. The billionaire knew he had 2 choices: step back and hand Liam over to fate, or push forward and risk everything, including his own life. And deep down, he already knew which one he would choose. The rain hadn't stopped all day. It streaked against the penthouse windows, casting shadows that made the room feel smaller than usual. Grace sat on the couch, wringing her hands, her eyes fixed on the carpet. William closed the door behind him, his voice calm but edged with steel. Marcus Vance has been watching us, following us. I need you to tell me everything, Grace. Now. Her breath trembled. You don't understand. I do understand, he cut in, stepping closer. You think you're protecting me, or maybe Liam. But the only way I can protect either of you is if you stop hiding the truth. Grace's shoulders sagged, and for the first time, she looked him in the eyes. There was no anger there, only exhaustion. Marcus isn't just Liam's biological father, she began. He's dangerous in ways you can't imagine. I met him when I was 17. He wasn't rich then, but he was already cruel. By the time I realized what he was capable of, I was pregnant. And when I tried to leave, her voice cracked. He locked me in a basement for 3 months. William's jaw clenched. Why didn't you go to the police? Grace laughed bitterly through her tears. Because the police captain was on his payroll. When I finally escaped, I ran as far as I could. I thought I was free. Then, I found out I was pregnant. I knew Marcus would come for the baby, so I did the only thing I could. I left Liam at the hospital and disappeared. I thought, if no one knew where I was, Marcus would never find him. William's mind reeled. So when I adopted Liam, I had no idea, she said, her voice almost a whisper, until I saw your name in the paper years later. That's when I realized Marcus would see it too. And if he knows Liam is with you. Her words hung in the air like a loaded gun. William walked to the window, staring out at the storm. Every drop of rain against the glass sounded like a ticking clock. If what you're saying is true, Grace, then Marcus isn't going to stop. He's going to come for Liam, harder than ever. Grace's voice trembled. That's why I was afraid to tell you. I didn't want to bring that danger to your door. He turned back to her, his expression set like stone. It's already here. And now we fight. It happened on a night, so still it felt unnatural. No wind, no traffic, just the hum of the city lights outside. William was tucking Liam into bed when the power went out. The apartment plunged into darkness. From the hallway came the faint sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, and too heavy to belong to Grace. William's instincts flared. Grace, he whispered. Take Liam and get to the safe room. Now. She froze for a heartbeat, then scooped Liam up, disappearing into the darkness as William reached under the bed for the steel baseball bat he kept hidden. The footsteps drew closer. A shadow moved at the end of the hallway, tall and broad. And then the smell. Cigarette smoke, sharp and clinging, the kind that settled into clothes for decades. Hello, Mr. Harrington. The voice was deep, oily, familiar from the descriptions Grace had given. Marcus. William didn't reply. He stepped forward into the dim light spilling from the street lamps, keeping his stance steady. Marcus's face emerged from the darkness, a cruel grin playing at his lips. "You've been raising my son. I have to say, you've done a fine job. But playtime's over. I'm here to take back what's mine." William's grip tightened on the bat. "You're not taking him anywhere." Marcus chuckled, low and mocking. "You think this is a negotiation? I've been patient, Harrington. I've been watching. And I know your routines. I know where your security is weakest. You've got money, but you've never dealt with a man like me." Then, with unnerving calm, he slid a photograph from his coat pocket and tossed it onto the floor between them. William didn't need to pick it up to know what it was. The image of Liam walking home from school, taken from just a few feet away. "That's just a taste," Marcus said. "Next time, it won't be a picture." The air was thick, every second stretching. William knew he couldn't attack, not yet. Marcus wanted him to lash out, to lose control. Instead, William stepped aside just enough to block the hallway to the safe room. "You need to leave," William said, voice like ice. Marcus smirked, backing away into the shadows. "I will. For now. But you'd better get used to sleeping with one eye open, Harrington. Because when I come back, I won't be alone." The front door closed with a quiet click, and the darkness swallowed the sound. William exhaled slowly, but his mind was already racing. This wasn't a warning. This was a countdown. The next morning, the Harrington penthouse was silent, but beneath that silence pulsed a single thought in William's mind. No more waiting. He had spent the night replaying Marcus's words, the way he lingered in the shadows, the photograph of Liam. Every detail screamed one thing. Marcus was bold because he thought William was predictable. That was his mistake. William wasn't a man who made threats. He was a man who made plans. In his private office, William locked the door and pulled out a small, sleek case. Inside were the tools of his former life, not as a businessman, but as a negotiator in high-stakes acquisitions, the kind where losing meant more than money. Grace entered quietly, her face pale, but her eyes steady. "What are you going to do?" William looked up. "I'm going to end this." They began laying out the bait. First, he arranged for Liam's school pickup to be accidentally leaked, a fake schedule Marcus could intercept. Second, William shifted the security detail, moving guards from visible patrols to hidden vantage points. And third, he installed hidden cameras in places Marcus would never think to check. Street corners, parked cars, even a trash bin near the school. By afternoon, William was moving like a chess master who already knew the outcome of the game. Grace was nervous. What if he doesn't take the bait? William's voice was calm, almost too calm. "He will. Men like Marcus can't resist proving they're in control. Tonight, he'll think he's taking Liam. But what he'll actually be taking is the fall." As the sun dipped below the skyline, William personally drove the decoy car to the school. Liam, of course, wasn't inside. Just a child-sized figure wearing Liam's clothes, seated in the back seat with its head turned toward the window. He parked in the designated pickup area and stepped away, as if leaving the vehicle unattended. From across the street, a man lit a cigarette, Marcus. William didn't move. He just watched from a concealed alley, earpiece in place, every muscle tense. Marcus strolled casually toward the car, glancing around. He opened the back door, reached in and froze. From the shadows, two plainclothes security men closed in. Marcus whipped around, but too late. William stepped out into the dim light, his voice cutting through the air. "You wanted to see what I'd do if you came for my son, Marcus?" His tone was icy, deliberate. "Now you'll see what I do when someone threatens my family." Marcus's grin faltered for the first time. He reached for his coat pocket, and the world erupted in flashing lights as unmarked SUVs screeched into place. The trap had been sprung. The parking lot was a storm of red and blue lights, wind whipping through as officers stepped out, their commands sharp and unyielding. Marcus stood frozen, his hands halfway in the air, eyes darting like a trapped predator. William approached slowly, the weight of years of restraint gone from his shoulders. His voice was low, almost conversational. "Do you know the difference between you and me, Marcus? You play games to win. I play games so you never get to play again. Marcus smirked, but his bravado cracked under the steady gaze. You think you've won? You have no idea what I know about you. Oh, I know exactly what you think you know, William said, pulling a small tablet from his coat. He tapped the screen, and a series of images lit up. Marcus taking envelopes of cash from a rival conglomerate, meeting with shady brokers, falsifying legal papers. What you didn't realize is that from the day you slithered into my world, I was recording every move you made. The officer stepped forward, but William raised a hand. Not yet. Grace had arrived, her heels clicking against the pavement, her expression one of icy calm. She stopped just a few feet from Marcus. Years ago, she began, when William and I adopted Liam, I wondered if I could truly be his mother. Then I realized being a parent isn't about blood. It's about who protects him when danger comes. That's why you'll never understand. You see children as leverage. We see them as life. Marcus spat on the ground. You think I care about your little family speeches? I could have ruined you. William stepped closer, his shadow falling across Marcus's face. You already tried. The moment you used Liam's past against us, you crossed a line you can't come back from. With a nod from William, the lead officer moved in, snapping cuffs around Marcus's wrists. He didn't resist, but his glare promised he'd never stop hating them. As they dragged him toward the SUVs, Marcus called over his shoulder. The truth will come out, William. You can't hide it forever. William didn't answer right away. He walked to the decoy car, opened the back door, and revealed the empty seat, a reminder that Marcus never even got close. Then he turned to Grace, his arm wrapping around her shoulders. The truth already came out, he said softly. It's that no one will ever take Liam from us. Not while I'm breathing. Grace looked up at him, her eyes bright but steady. And if you stop breathing? William smiled faintly. Then I'll make sure the world we leave him is one where snakes like Marcus can't slither. In the distance, the city skyline glowed, a sharp contrast to the darkness they had just walked through. And somewhere, safe at home, Liam slept without knowing how close danger had crept, because his parents had made sure danger would never cross that line again.